place at our Season 1 Invitational, finding room, obviously, for some red cards. Now, the red cards aren't the easiest ones to splash, and some of them are time-sensitive, like Spike Jester. There's also Mizzy and Mortars floating around here as well. As far as red mana is concerned, there's 5 Mountains, 4 Temple of Malice, 4 Blood Crypts, and then 2 copies of Manic Influence. So you've got the straightforward approach by GCB, and you have a bit of a splash here from Chavez.
I think you got to respect any list that has Spike Jester as its only creature that costs less than 3.
Yeah.
That's hot.
GCB going to start off very quickly with a Tormented Hero. His deck, of course, has numerous 1-drops for a single black mana. You've got Chavez with a Temple of Malice to begin. So he will not unveil exactly what he's playing just yet, as Carleton Barnes will untap, take a draw here, and start by bashing in for 2. So Chavez will go down to 18. And let's see what the follow play is going to be here for GCB. I mean, another copy of Tormented Hero before passing the turn back. Whenever I see 2 of the same thing out there, I always do a Bioblight check on their deck list. 2 here for Chavez.
Uh-oh, he was real happy about that land.
Yeah, and he actually has the Bioblight in his hand.
They always have it.
That actually seems to be true. It's kind of crazy if the 2-for-1 does take place there. GCB going to follow up here with a copy of Lifebane Zombie. He wants to see exactly what the heck is going on.
Show me
over
what
here.
You're working with.
I heard a Torment, a Stormbreath Dragon, a Thoughtseize, 2 Blood Crypts, and a Swamp is exactly what Timothy Chavez is working with. Not the most threatening of hands, honestly.
It's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, Carleton Barnes has no aggression whatsoever. A Herald of Torment bridging into a Stormbreath Dragon is a potentially, you know, pretty aggressive sequence of cards here.
Chavez draws another copy of Blood Crypt for the turn.
A little mana heavy.
Yeah. Land count in his deck, he actually has quite a few, 25. Big spells that he does have in his deck. Whip of Erebos, you can count that as a pretty large one. Stormbreath Dragon, of course, due to the monstrosity there. And Mizzy and Mortars, the Overload. And we can say the Bestow on Herald of Torment, too. So
sure.
If there is some flooding out to be done, there's definitely some things to use that mana for. Bioblight's going to get that Herald of Torment off the table. In comes Lifebane Zombie. See if GCB has any follow-up. He does not.
Oh, wow. This is going to be a great turn. Thoughtseize clearing the way for a Herald of Torment with a Stormbreath Dragon next turn is a
that's a good turn.
Excellent.
GCB throws his hand out immediately. Hero's Downfall, Mogus Marauder, and a Herald of Torment. Exactly what Chavez is looking at. You know, one of the things I always like to do when, you know, some cards are not really seeing a lot of play or kind of waiting for rotation, just kind of keep track of those cards. Herald of Torment seems like it's right in that camp.
Oh, I mean, Herald of Torment, he's had a few moments, but he's definitely one to watch. The card is quite powerful. It's interesting here, choosing to take the Hero's Downfall to protect the Stormbreath Dragon, but the thing is, Herald of Torment on Lifebane Zombie is going to make a pretty devastating threat, right?
I'd imagine that's going to be the case.
I mean, it's still a turn away from taking place, but...
I'm going to trust a copy of, looks like maybe it was a Mogus's Marauder, potentially.
Not super effective in this matchup.
I imagine those will go to the bench once we do get to the sideboard at games, but GCB did win a PTQ with this type of deck a little while ago. Said he's very, very comfortable playing mono black aggro in standard. Let's see if he can continue to navigate his way through this standard open here in Portland. This deck, and he's just gonna look like he's just gonna pass the turn back. Maybe here.
Yeah, without having the land actually cast the Herald of Torment, the threat is not super to bestow. Yeah, the threat is, see, it's tough because if you just cast the Herald of Torment here, it doesn't really do a ton for him. But if he wants to try to bestow, he's so far away.
Looks like he's just going to cast the Herald of Torment.
Yeah.
I think maybe part of what GCB's plan here might be is that, okay, let me have your Herald of Torment actually deal you a significant amount of damage.
Yeah, I mean, Chavez does not have a ton of mana to work with. And he plays the Blood Crypt tapped. Ooh. Oh, wow, the best of all worlds.
That'll change some things. Now Desecration Demon has shown up, and GCB knows about the Stormbreath Dragon that can show up the following turn as well. So this could get a little bit ugly. You see Barnes go down to 19 from the Herald trigger of his own. Scores are 19-10 in favor of Carleton Barnes, but he needs to really get moving here. I don't think that Lifebane Zombie wants to attack. So there's a copy of Painseer. That's not all that exciting. And Barnes just does pass the turn back over to Chavez, who will take a draw here after going down to 9. Again, we know about Storm Breath Dragon. There's a Blood Crypt over there. It looks like maybe it was a Thoughtseize that was picked up.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Thoughtseize seems a little bit dangerous to cast right now, though.
Yeah, little dicey. It's kind of fun that the Demon could potentially give GCB an out to his own Herald of Torment in a very narrow situation, but for the most part, I think that we're just, on the one side of the equation, Chavez has a dominating board position, but on the other side, GCB has a big enough life advantage that it's actually interesting. What do you think about not attacking there?
I think something had to come into the red zone. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be Demon. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be Dragon, but I feel like something should be coming in there.
Yeah.
At the very least, Dragon, I think, should probably be attacking just because you know your opponent has Mogus' Marauder, so you can't block it. Because now I'm looking at the board here. You see, if we play a Mogus' Marauder, you trigger everything. You sack Mogus' Marauder to the Demon. You attack with your creature. Stormbreath Dragon can't block. Let's say Heralds run into each other. That's 3, 4, 5. Chavez goes down.
I assume the Herald is still
4.
The Herald's going to eat Painseer instead, right?
You think Herald? Okay, I mean, we could see. Okay, if that happens, then Chavez takes an additional 1.
Yep.
So then he would go down to 3 after all said and done, after a Herald trigger takes place on his turn. And I think that if you're Carleton Barnes, you're probably okay with that. But then again, I mean, you don't get anything off of your opponent's side of the table. You could be in for a very large counter swing. So this is a Mogus' Marauder. Everything's going to get a little bit bigger. The reason I like this play the most, and we'll see if GCB attacks everybody, is that it forces your opponent to make a decision.
Yeah.
And I think you want to put your opponent in, as GCB, you want to give your opponent the opportunity to make a mistake, I think. But he's just going to play Mogus Marauder and pass the turn back, so no attack for him either. You want somebody to get in the red zone.
Yeah, dude, I'm hungry. I'm thirsty for battle.
Chavez going to play a Swamp. Has the ability to Monstrosity the Stormbreath Dragon now. His only card is a Thoughtseize. So what to do, what to do?
Now, does GCB have another Mogus Marauder?
That's the big question. He does have 2 in his main deck. The question is, does he have the other one in his hand? Because if it does, this play makes sense. Chavez is going to have to try to figure this out, though. And I think a removal spell is actually still good, too, for Gabe, if he just finds, like, a Hero's Downfall.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got a lot going for him. Having this life advantage is super valuable.
The other thing, too, right now is, in theory, Gabe is actually facing a lethal attack if there are no blocks and nothing with the Desecration Demon. You attack with everybody. Stormbreath Dragon becomes a 7/7 with Monstrosity. 7 and 6 is 13. Plus 3 is 16. Plus the 2 cards in Carleton Barnes' hand makes it 18. Now, I have to imagine a player of his caliber is aware of this and doesn't just die to attack with everything. Okay, no blocks, Monstrosity. And it looks like Chavez is just going to pass the turn back. So Carleton Barnes will take another 1. He'll go down to 17. See if he can get any more cards out of his hand. Or even if he even needs to. We're in kind of this holding pattern here that it seems like it's better for Chavez, but Carleton Barnes seems happy with how things are going.
I mean, Chavez's life total is so low, though.
Yeah, it's only getting lower.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I mean, obviously GCB is behind on board, but he's got enough extra life, and Chavez is so low that if he can keep things real sharp, keep the life total low enough that Chavez can't make a move. I think one of the tough things about Chavez's position is that even though he has more power, it's very unreliable. Stormbreath Dragon can't be counted on the block. Desecration Demon could get tapped. I think that the unreliability mixed with the ever-shrinking life totals is a dangerous formula for Chavez.
Down to 7 he goes. Oof, another copy of Thoughtseize, a blank magic card here. But GCB does not know that. So Chavez can attempt to simply bluff removal spells at this point, and that will probably cause Carleton Barnes to be very hesitant to move into the red zone. Though you do see some mana being tapped here at the end of Chavez's turn. This is a hero's downfall. The big question, of course, now is, what the heck do you target? Looks like he's going to go with the dragon.
You got a monstrosity in response, right?
If you do, you put your shields down as far as I have a removal spell. So your bluffing potential is gone, but he will monstrosity. Now Barnes knows that he's safe to move in. He'll take one from his own Herald, take a draw here. See another copy of Pains here. I think there's another copy of Mogus' Marauder there as well.
If he has another creature at all, he can just tap the demon and go for the win.
I think he's surveying a board position and coming to the conclusion that you just did. But he will slow down in just a moment. Perhaps it's a 2-mana spell he'd rather cast. There's a Pain Seer. You see him keep that back near the lands to take care of that. Everybody's going to attack. You block a 3-power creature. You take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that is going to do it. So Gabe Carleton Barnes is going to win game number 1 here over Timothy Chavez. Mono black aggro up a game over black red mid range.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at what they got in the sideboard.
I've got Chavez in front of me, so I'll start off here with 2 Slaughter Games, 3 copies of Rakdos's Return, a Sire of Insanity. Ooh, this is interesting. A Mizium Mortars, a Lifebane Zombie, 3 copies of Duress, and maybe a reason we haven't seen a red deck at the top tables. 4 copies of Farika's Cure. The Cure is certainly going to come in here. I imagine all 4 copies will.
Definitely.
I also like the Mizium Mortars as an additional removal spell. I think the plan here, if you're Chavez, is to just sideboard into a lot of cheap removal, keep things clear, and then mop up with something. Desecration Demon or Stormbreath Dragon likely able to get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. On I mean, just being able to trim some of the being able to trim, like, for instance, Lifebane Zombie. You definitely don't want any of those. And then you wouldn't hate trimming down on these Thought Seizes.
Pretty good on, like, the first or second turn of the game, but pretty bad after that.
I'd say medium on the first couple turns.
Fair.
Horrible later. GCB has access to a lot of different removal spells, like a couple Ultimate Price, couple Doom Blade, 3 Dark Betrayal, and then he also has 3 Duress, 1 Whip of Erebos, 2 Erebos God of the Dead, 1 Mogi's Marauder, 1 Lifebane Zombie. He's also going to be looking to take out his Lifebane Zombies, as well as possibly tweaking his removal suite. 3 Dark Betrayals, I think, are in for sure. I think Ultimate Price is also going to be just an A+. Being able to hit Desecration Demon or Stormbreath Dragon, super, super, super valuable. I don't think he really wants Doomblade. There aren't even Mutavaults. He doesn't know, but I think the Doomblade for Stormbreath Dragon alone is not worth it. So the primary thing is going to be Dark Betrayal and Ultimate Price. And beyond that, it's just a question of if he wants to tweak, his mix of creatures.
So I'll ask you a question here about Thoughtseize.
Sure.
A lot of talk about the powerful discard spell.
Sure.
However, it's a card that is so good, I think, on the opening turns of the game and kind of mediocre past that. Is it still, does that change the power level of the card or maybe the way that people should view it? Getting Thoughtseize in the early turns of the game can be super frustrating. But, when you see a situation like that where Chavez draws a Thoughtseize at a pretty poor spot as back-to-back draws, is it still as powerful as everyone still makes it out to be? Even though it's a bad draw at points in the game?
Yeah, no, I guess, I don't know how strong everybody makes it out to be, but I know that it is as strong as the popular conception believes it is, and perhaps slightly more so. I think the card is exactly as good as it is. It's absurd in many situations, and even though it strikes out in a number of spots, the overall power level is just so high. Counterspell can be awful when you're losing, but it doesn't mean that Counterspell is even close to fair of a Magic card. So yeah, I think overall Thoughtseize is just, it's a messed up Magic card. It is easy to get down on and to be like, oh, well, it's all Thoughtseize's fault, whatever. It is important to remember that Thoughtseize has all these fail states, but at the end of the day, so did Demonic Consultation. And Demonic Consultation was an unbelievably broken card. Just because you can get Necro locked doesn't mean Necro's not completely busted in half. So yeah, I actually do think that Thoughtseize is as good as people think it is, if not better.
You mentioned Counterspell.
Yeah.
When I think of Counterspell, I think of Mana Leak and just 2-mana Counterspells. Are we at the point now, probably in Magic, where we can't have Counterspells like that anymore? We probably have to start at 3, like Dissolve and Cancel and stuff like that, or?
I mean, we haven't been able to have Mana Leak at 2 for a very long time.
I mean, it did come back there during the Delver days.
We can't have Thoughtseize at 1 either.
Yeah,
I think
that's fair.
I think that Mana Leak, Thoughtseize, and Lightning Bolt are all the same sort of card.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, they're all very, very pushy. I think Lightning Bolt is even more pushy than Mana Leak, but promotes a healthier thing. I think that Thoughtseize is unbelievably pushy also. Not as healthy what it promotes, but...
I'm just thinking of things that are jumping in my head now. Is Path to Exile too pushy?
Path to Exile is a similar sort of thing. Path to
Yeah.
Exile is extremely pushy. It
Okay.
is a little overpowered. It's not quite as strong as Lightning Bolt or Mana Leak, but it's in the same league, you know?
I hope they're able to find a way to print a removal spell like that doesn't go over the top. Like Swords
Chain of the Rocks.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Chain of the Rocks is a very fair, very strong card.
Okay. Good ways to solve the problem, obviously. Killing enchantments. There's a cost up front that's required for it.
And I do think, by the way, it's good to print slightly overpowered cards in this area sometimes. You know, have an ebb and a flow. Sometimes you have Mana Leak, sometimes you have Path to Exile, sometimes you have Lightning Bolt, sometimes you have Thoughtseize. I just generally like the ones that promote a healthier play pattern. Like Lightning Bolt and Path to Exile promote something that's quite healthy, whereas, you know, Thoughtseize a little bit less so, but it'll be all right.
It always is, in the end. Chavez is going to take a mulligan down to, looks like 6 here. A lot of the cards in this deck are kind of time sensitive.
What's the green one?
Oh boy. Probably like Birds.
Birds of Paradise is not in the same league as those cards.
I
Birds
agree.
of Paradise is pretty good, but...
Here's a Thoughtseize. You see a Gnarled Scarhide. Ultimate Price, a Hero's Downfall, a Herald Torment, another Gnarled Scarhide, and then 2 Forest. Let us know on Twitter what you think. What is the green one as far as these kind of, pushy cards go?
Yeah, overpowered, just staples. You know, they're just slightly overpowered, slightly too efficient. I guess Eternal Witness kind of comes to mind, but I just don't know that it's powerful enough. Yeah, I don't know.
Tarmogoyf's not it, right?
I mean, Tarmogoyf's kind of obnoxious. Maybe? I guess Tarmogoyf could be. It's just Tarmogoyf's not a thing they would really want to reprint the same way in a standard legal set. It's not really a good card to be the best card in the format. It promotes healthy things, I guess, but it's not a real appealing card.
Thoughtseize does take care of Herald Torment. There's Gnarled Scarhide from Carleton Barnes. Again, we know he has another one of those in his hand. Chavez's second land might be a Manic Influence, but there's a Blood Crypt now, so doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Even though this land is going to come into play untapped, so Chavez is going to go down to 16 and just looks like past the turn back, leave a removal spell at the ready. You do see a Pharika's Cure over there. In for 2 we go, and the Cure will take care of the Scarhide. So Chavez will go back up to 18. Do have a response here, Mr. Chapin, from Marcos PMA, Green Sun Zenith or Rancor?
Rancor. Rancor is a good answer. Green Sun Zenith is just an undesirable, weird tutor thing. It's not the right kind of thing, but it's not the right kind of card. It's slightly overpowered, but it's not the right sort of. Rancor is exactly that is such a perfect answer. It's just a little bit overpowered, but you can give it to him every once in a while. You just have to know what you're doing, and Rancor is it's not quite the same. I mean, Rancor is not quite as strong as those other 4. But it's at least in the, it's in the same ballpark, I guess.
I have a couple of votes here for Glimpse of Nature or Noble Hierarch.
Noble Hierarch's pretty pushy.
Here's another copy of Pharika's Cure to take care of that tormented hero.
Noble Hierarch's pretty pushy. It might be the tag team when you give people Noble Hierarch and Birds of Paradise or something like that. I mean, Noble Hierarch is definitely way stronger than Birds of Paradise. But even that, it's like, I mean, Noble Hierarch's kind of more of a Rancor than a Lightning Bolt.
There was a point in time where I tricked myself into thinking Noble Hierarch was coming back when Exalted was the thing that was happening in the base set.
I believe it. A lot of people probably...
I was rather foolish.
Noble Hierarch will be back someday.
Yeah?
Definitely. I mean, it's pushy. It's pushy as hell, but it's a sweet card, and it promotes some kind of sweet things. You can only have so much of that because it's dangerous, but...
4th line here from Chavez. This is a Herald Tournament. I was curious if this was going to be a Desecration Demon.
So Herald of Torment facing down a Gnarled Scarhide and a Mutavault.
Oh, no
Ultimate
longer.
Price takes care of that.
Take a look at the life totals here as we make our way into the mid-game. It's 20-20. This cannot be the way that Carleton Barnes wants things to go, especially after the opponent did mulligan. He wants to get to work here. It looks like he's going to fire at Mutavault to start getting to work. An attack here for 4 is going to put Chavez down to 16. Your follow-up play is a Tormented Hero before passing the turn back over to Chavez. We'll see if Chavez has any of his big creatures to really get rolling, just to duress, which will take care of a hero's downfall. You see the last card here in Carleton Barnes' hand is a Spiteful Return. So hands have basically been emptied, but Carleton Barnes is ahead on the board. Farseek has also been mentioned, but I think that's only the case when dual lands like the Ravnica duels are available. Otherwise, it seems relatively fine and fair.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that all the Rampant Growth stuff is kind of pushy, but it's not the same sort of thing. I mean, maybe. But I don't know. I don't think it's substantially stronger than, like, for instance, Sylvan Caryatid, which is also strong, don't get me wrong, but...
You saw Mutavault and friends come into the red zone here, so Carleton Barnes is working on that life total, saving that Spiteful Return, I imagine, for when he draws a 4th land to bestow onto a Tormented Hero. And we will go back to Mutavault land, so in we come for 6 more yet again. Chavez is going to go down to 4. Barnes going to deploy another 1-drops, it looks like, in Tormented Hero. Chavez will take a draw. It's a hero's downfall to go on with the Stormbreath Dragon.
Not going to do it.
That is not going to do
sir.
it. No Drown in Sorrow-esque effects. And even though we've seen red decks winning over the past couple of standard tournaments here on the Open Series, it's the mono-black approach that is going to take Gabe Carleton Barnes to 6-0 here in our standard Open. Look at mono black go.
GCB can't fight back that smile.
It's a big win. 6-0 again. He's won a PTQ with this deck. He said he's very comfortable playing this deck. His numbers, I mean, he's got 10 ones where some people play 12. He's got 4 Tormented Hero, 4 Gnarled Sky, and only 2 Rakdos Cackler, where some people very quickly just play 12 1-drops. He's made the choice to play Pain Seer when a card like Thrill Killer Assassin or Pack Rat is available. 4 Herald of Torment, 3 Lifebane Zombie, 2 copies of Mogus' Marauder. So he's very happy with this configuration, and he's off to a beautiful start right now. 6-0 with mono black.
In the words of Jeff Cunningham, you don't just wake up one day deciding to play 2 Rakdos Cacklers. Like, that is an indication that you have tuned your list, you know?
That is definitely the case. So congratulations to GCB, 6-0. Maybe we'll have to sit down with him in the sideboard, see how he came to these numbers. Maybe he can sell us on on Pain Seer. Not Pack Rat. Pack Rat we don't need to be sold on.
Dude.